Yo, what up, though? So, I wanted to go over a year from this weekend about the craziest weekend in hip hop history. And I'm talking about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. Now, up until this point, when this Friday passed, we had already heard Like That. That set it off. Well, not technically, but you get where I'm saying. And when Kendrick is going off on Cole and Drake, we were all waiting. And when Drake got off tour, he dropped Push Ups, where he first low key mentioned Kendrick's wife. And then later on, he dropped Taylor Made, calling out Kendrick. He had the AI rap versions of Tupac, and he had Snoop. I wasn't necessarily a fan of it, like a lot of people, but it was what it was. Then we had to wait like a week later, and then Euphoria dropped. Now, Euphoria, to me, I make that argument all day. Out of all the songs between the two, Euphoria is the best rap song out of all of them, and he is really giving it to Drake. However, that wasn't it. Some moments later, we get, for me, which is the most underestimated song in the entire battle, which is 616 in LA by Kendrick Lamar. And in that one, I love the way the beat goes, and I'm still hating how you cannot get that song or any kind of streaming, that you only got to listen to it on YouTube. However, that's the first time we see him hinting to Drake, hey, yo, you got a snake in your camp. Chill out. You don't want it to go there. But, yo, Drake is Drake. He ain't care. So you know what he does? On that Friday, he drops Family Matters. And Family Matters, hands down, is the best effort that Drake gave Kendrick, and it is a threat. In that moment, you can hear the brilliance of Drake's lyricism. Those of you who may not like when Drake is singing and you only like his rapping, you have to agree that the way he switches up the flow, which every beat turn, Drake is nothing but genius on there, and the way he is telling the story and crafting it. Now, in the video itself, you can tell Drake was walking with all the confidence. His chest is sticking way out. He got the Good Kid, Mad City van, takes it to the junkyard, tears it up. He's walking around with a cigar like Phil Jackson in Game 6. He don't care. He is Drizzy. And I'm saying to myself, after I hear that song and I hear the allege of, yo, domestic abuse and your best friend is the father of your child towards Kendrick, I'm saying to myself, no, you cannot sit here for no 2 weeks after this record. You cannot be too cool to not respond to this. If this record catches legs, it is a Rap Jones. And lo and behold, the hip hop gods must have heard me, because what drops? Well, I get text messages and I get notifications on YouTube, and I'm introduced to Meet the Grams. And the way Meet the Grams starts off is so eerie. It's produced by Alchemist, but that piano, that doom, 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 Kendrick is performing surgery on Drake's character by addressing his mom, talking to his dad, the nerve of you, Dennis, and also alleging that Drake has a daughter that he is keeping somewhere quiet. And if you're someone like me who's an advocate for mental health and you've done a lot of self-work on yourself, you know what it's like when someone who has not done work on themselves and they try to make their issues yours. You know what it's like to be like, no, homie, and you start picking their character apart. That is what took place in that, because Drake was no longer Drake. He was Aubrey, and we were all looking at him different. And I would have been completely satisfied in that weekend if that battle would have ended right there. But no, a few hours later, because I was upset and it was late and I had a 3-hour drive to make it to my niece's college graduation, all of a sudden I hear Not Like Us. The moment the second comes in, you hear Mustard on the Beat Ho. I'm like, this is a problem. And 30 seconds into the beat, I'm like, this is a club record. And the worst diss record is a hit record. That's a club record, because you're hearing it all the time. I'm going live on Twitter and I'm seeing people dancing to it in LA already. People dancing to it in Vegas already. Hell, I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing people in Portland walking to this record. And contrary to popular belief, I don't care, because the record is big. Even lyrically, Kendrick is giving it to Drake. It's genius to have a crowd scream OV Ho throughout the entire stuff. And those of us who ain't even know who Baka was, we still wondering why is he around. And alleging, even though he lyrically doesn't necessarily call Drake a pedophile, but we know what the song is about. The more and more I listened to Not Like Us, the more and more I started to understand that this song is becoming bigger than just this battle. And it did. Now, that was the dagger and the knife in the heart right there that really closed it out. But Drake wasn't going to go out like that. But he's an example of having the last word doesn't mean you have the best word. Because the next day is when Drake puts out the Heart Part 6. Now, we all know, those of us who are Kendrick fans, that Kendrick Lamar has dropped the Heart series for the past 10-something years. So he borrowed the Heart Part 6. And the moment that Drake comes on rapping, you can hear it in his tone that something is different. He ain't walking around with the bravado that he had before. Now, he's trying to come off as if he's above it. He's telling him that snitch that you had in my so-called camp, I put that false information out there, and I don't want to continue with this unless you only want to talk about facts. And, this was a good thing to get the pen out, which was my favorite part of the song, the whole get the pen out. But it didn't matter. because people were too busy sea walking. There were kids, dogs, and elephants all out there dancing to dun, 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 dun. It didn't even matter. Okay. Now, in the aftermath of this whole battle, J. Cole is somewhere riding his bicycle through Manhattan looking for pickle sandwiches, but it didn't make anybody who was a strong Drake fan a non-Drake fan, and or make them a Kendrick fan. And the reverse. Now, collectively, we all agreed that Kendrick Lamar won that battle against Drake, unless you're somebody who is just way more of a Drake slash Stan fan than I can ever be, and you're overdosing off red pills, and that's okay. You go ahead and you enjoy that. But what it also showed is that these two who are at the top, and they are the crowns of what they do, how they made the whole world pay attention to them. It was a tennis match back and forth. It was a boxing match that had rounds and uppercuts. There was nowhere that no celeb can go without being asked, who do you got between Kendrick or Drake? Everybody was paying attention. And that is the beauty of what the culture is all about. And that is why the craziest weekend in hip hop produced the greatest battle in hip hop history. Argue with your mama.